Three's Company, right?
Good afternoon. Calling to order the October 31st meeting of the Glendale City Council at 3:05 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Asadrian. Devine.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian. Mayor Brotman.
Here. Could we have your report, please?
Before, Mr. Mayor, before he reads into the item, Councilman Asatrian has sent you all an email just shortly, a few minutes ago, wanting to participate remotely as she is caregiving for a qualifying relative under the new provisions of the Brown Act. So I would ask, pursuant to her request, that we make a motion to allow her to participate in the meeting remotely. She will be in the conference room as council deliberates in closed session.
Okay, so somebody has to make a motion.
I'll move that. I'll move that.
Okay, and so roll call, please.
Councilmember Asadrian. Devine.
Yes.
Kasakian.
Yes.
Najarian. Yes. Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Okay, now your report, please.
Closed session. 1A, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, City Manager. 1B, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, City Attorney.
Okay. Will we be reporting out on any of these items?
Don't anticipate reporting out,
No.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So with that, we'll recess to closed session.
To change that intro music.
Good evening. Welcome to the October 31st meeting of the Glendale City Council, being called to order at 6:03 p.m. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Asadrian. Devine.
Here.
Kasakian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here?
Mayor Brotman.
Here. And now would you please rise for the flag salute? Hand over your heart and repeat after me.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the invocation.
Father, we come to you asking for your blessing and help us as we are gathered today. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our service to the community. Help us to work together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that we challenge one another to reach higher and farther to be the best we can be. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. May we have your report, please, Mr. Assistant City Clerk?
The agenda for the October 31st, 2023 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council is posted on October 26, 2023 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And what's our next set of items?
Next item would be number 3, presentation and appointments, 3A agenda preview for the meeting of Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 by Assistant City Manager Don Tuctalia.
Good evening, Mayor Brotman, members of City Council. Next week, we do have a Housing Authority meeting with just approval of minutes, followed by a special meeting of the City Council with two items on the agenda, both from Community Development Department. The first one will be regarding the Community Development Department's annual report, and the second will be an update on the entitlement and code review process. For the evening's City Council meeting, there is only one consent item, and that'll be an amendment to a contract with Rincon Consultants. And that'll be in order to include an update of the general plan safety element as part of the climate action and adaptation plan preparation process. We also have 3 action items. The first will be a report from the city clerk calling for and giving notice of the Glendale municipal election to be held on Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. The second item will be from the fire department seeking approval to purchase turnout gear for the Glendale Fire Department. And the last will be from Public Works seeking approval of an agreement for the Beeline Maintenance Facilities bus electrification and parking deck project. We also have 2 hearings that evening. The first one will be a public hearing on an appeal of the decision of the Director of Public Works regarding granting an encroachment permit for the installation of wireless telecommunication facilities on public right-of-way at 1544 West Kenneth Road. And the final hearing will be the 5th public hearing regarding the composition of the city council districts and a discussion of potential amendments to the charter.
Thank you. And next, we have some commission appointments. Could you read those into the record?
Mayor, it looks like I have a caller for item 3A. I'm trying to get some clarification on it at this minute, which is presentation and appointments.
Okay.
This individual wants to talk about item 3A. Would you like me to take that?
Yeah, and please clarify that it's 3A, that it's the agenda preview that the person wants to comment on. It seems unlikely, so you ask what it is you want to speak about.
Mayor, they're on the phone with her. Would you like us to go to the next item and then go back to 3A if you like?
Sure, since it's not anything we vote on, we can just come back to it. Is that all right?
The agenda preview?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Item 3B is appointment of Dennis Ryan to Civil Service Commission. Mike Sakin, Councilmember Sakin and Devine.
Well, Mayor, our panel, myself along with Councilmember Devine, interviewed candidates for the Civil Service Commission appointment, and we are presenting to you with the person we believe best suited to fill this vacancy. Dennis Ryan lives in Glendale in the Spar Heights area. He is a retired attorney, but he has many years of both volunteer and educational and legal experience that he brings to bear for this. He's affiliated with he's in the California State Bar Association. He's a volunteer mediator for the Los Angeles Superior Court, a volunteer fee dispute arbitrator for the Los Angeles County Bar Association. He's has a great resume, a graduate of Loyola Law School, cum laude, as well as he has his California teaching credential. He also has taught. So With that, we'd like to bring up Dennis Rinn for the appointment to civil service and ask for your council's approval.
Okay, Councilmember Devine, you want to second that? since you-
I certainly will. Second that proudly.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any comments, any questions? Okay, in that case, let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Asadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Very good. And our next appointment?
Item 3C, reappointment of Chris Cragnotti to Historic Preservation Commission by Councilmember Najarian and Mayor Brotman.
Councilmember
Mayor,
Najarian, you want to make?
You and I were selected on this panel, and we met and went through resumes of the applicants, and it appeared, clearly it appeared that Chris Cragnotti, who currently has served one term on the Historic Preservation and is a well-known realtor and an appreciative member of the appreciative of historic preservation, as he also serves on has a membership in the Glendale Historic Society. Chris is the person that you and I decided would be the best fit at this time on the commission. So I will move 3C for Chris Cragnotti.
Okay, and yeah, I would just say ditto to that. I know Chris has been on for 4 years. He's been committed to that role, playing a very, showing strong leadership on the Historic Preservation Commission. I think he's pretty even-handed and he has an interest in continuing, and I think it would be good for us to have him continue. So with that,
Do
can I
I-
have a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Councilmember Devine. Okay, let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Asadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Okay, and our last reappointment.
3D, reappointment of Arlene Vidor to the Arts and Culture Commission by Councilmember Kasakian and Mayor Brotman.
Councilmember Kasaki, you want?
I did the last one. You
Oh,
want me to do this
okay, okay. So again, this was a case where Councilmember Kasakian and I were on a panel. We did a series of interviews. I think we interviewed four candidates?
Yes.
Was it? Yeah. All, I should say, very strong, and I think I mentioned this last week when we put Arlene's name into consideration. Our hopes were that we can find opportunities for all four of these people to play a role with our expanding arts and culture portfolio here in the city. Nonetheless, we thought that Arlene, who has served one term on the Arts and Culture Commission and is interested in continuing, would be the best person to have on that commission at this time. So we're looking to reappoint Arlene to another 4 years. So I'll take a motion in a second if I,
We'll make that nomination.
yes. So you're making the
I'll
nomination?
second.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Asadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes.
Mayor, before we move on to the next item, the individual on the line wants to talk about the November 7th election, November 7th districting that we have on the agenda, which is item 9B. Would you like us to take that call so she can talk about it? Because we did mention it during our agenda preview.
Yeah, Mr. City Attorney, since this is an agenda preview, not actually agendizing the subject, what's your view on?
Mr. Mayor, so generally, this item is just to announce what's going to be on the agenda. There's no action being taken, and you're not really discussing it, so you're not required to take comment. You could, briefly, if it's within your discretion, you want to give a speaker a minute. I assume it would have to be whether or not that item should be on the agenda, not on the merits of that discussion. That's not what this item's for, so it's up to you if you want to allow someone to speak,
Okay,
whether or
well,
not that should be
let's-
on the agenda.
Yes, let's allow them to speak, and maybe, could you just reiterate that?
Sure, that they speak on whether or not it should be
Whether or not it
agendized,
should be on,
but
that's,
not
yeah.
on the merits.
Dulce Ambris, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
thank you for letting me speak. Sorry if it was a little confusing what I was asking, but I did attend the special city council meeting last week on where you all talked about districting and learned some more information about that. So I did just want to talk about it, I guess, here and just really emphasize that I do see the value of districts, and I also see the value of more outreach being done in our communities. I'm a member of the Glendale Tenants Union, and even I have tried to do outreach within our members, but I don't really have the capacity nor the language to even explain the importance of why this is even being brought up in City Council. So I really want to emphasize that. Also, too, I know last week you all discussed about how some of the study sessions to recall community members for districting or to learn about it have been low turnouts, and I feel like this idea was the reason it's a low turnout is because people aren't interested, and I really disagree with that. I think people are interested. It's just that knowledge is not being really shared in the city of Glendale. And even I work with a lot of monolingual Spanish speakers, and it's having to put in a lot of work to explain what it is and its importance.
Yeah.
So I think the
Sorry,
city
Mayor,
could do more outreach with that.
Yeah, okay, all right. Thank you very much. Leave it at that. Okay. Next item.
Mayor, next item is consent items, including minutes. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of the council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before motion is proposed.
I'll move the consent calendar.
Second.
Mr. City Attorney, I would, and Mayor, I have to recuse myself from the second item for B because the individual listed who is applying for that map is a source of income and a client of mine. Thank you.
So just for the record, Mr. Mayor, he can participate in the vote on the motion. Just his vote on item 4B will identify as an abstention/recusal.
Okay, so do we have to take these separately then?
You do not, because it's consent. He can continue to vote on the motion. Just his vote on 4B will be recognized as an abstention.
Okay. So he will vote when it comes around on roll call. He'll vote.
Yes.
But we will know to record it as an abstention.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's have roll call on that, please.
Councilmember Asadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes, with the abstention on 4B.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Moving right along. What's next?
Next item is city council and staff comments.
Okay. Let me go around. Councilmember Devine looks like she has
Well, okay.
something interesting to share with
Okay.
us.
First of all, I want to congratulate the Glendale Police Foundation, our police department, on the fundraiser they had for our canines, Howling at the Moon. It was fun and it was funny. So if you missed that, you missed a lot. Hope you raised a lot of money. Yes, good. Get some more of those dogs. I also wanted to mention to those of you out there that love to go to plays, we have the Antaeus Theater here on Broadway, and they are presenting currently a play called She, and it's about a young girl, teenage girl, striving to find her inner power and to reach her goal in life. And the acting is absolutely fantastic, and it's a tremendous play, and will uplift you to no end. It's fabulous. So it's at the Antaeus. And get tickets are only, I think, like $35 or $40, so they're not really that expensive as if you were going to the, to LA to theater. But it's a wonderful play, especially if you have young daughters. This is fantastic, or even a young, for the youth to learn the fact that if you really believe, you can reach any goal that you want and be anything that you want. So I recommend this highly. And with that, happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you.
Councilmember Najarian?
Nothing.
Anything? Councilmember Kasakian?
Just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Halloween out there. That's all.
Okay, and the same for me, happy Halloween. We have a short meeting today, so we can all get off and do whatever trick-or-treating or partying is in our plans for the evening. I do want to just raise one thing and ask that we put this on the new business agenda for next week, and that has to do with our building electrification code. So I recently learned that we are not enforcing our all-electric building codes, and this goes back to a decision which is not new, it's several months old, a court case involving a similar ordinance in the city of Berkeley, and that apparently I've just learned is now affecting our ability to enforce our ordinance as it's currently written. So I would ask that we have an item for staff, first of all, to tell us what the situation is with this lawsuit, and when and what our expectations are about any subsequent. I think it's being appealed or something. Maybe you can tell us about that, where we are with that, and then more importantly for me is what do we do to address this so that we can still carry out the policy that is very important to us. I think there are workarounds, but we probably have to go back to the drawing board and restructure this ordinance. So that's what I would like to hear so that we can start moving on a plan B. Is there anything you would like to add, Mr. Garcia?
Not at this time. I think when we bring it, put it on the new business agenda for next week, we'll discuss it a little bit further.
A little bit more. Okay. Thank you. Okay. What is next?
Mayor, next item is community event announcement, 3-minute portion. I have not received any cards for this item.
For community event announcements. Okay. Then we will go to our first action item, it looks like.
Next item is 8 action items, 8A management services regarding ordinance amending Glendale Municipal Code 1995, Title 8, Chapter 8.42 to prohibit the use, distribution, and sale of polystyrene products on a citywide basis. One ordinance for introduction.
Okay, Mr. Galania.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Brotman, Mayor City Council. I'm just going to turn it over to David Jones, our Sustainability Officer, to present this ordinance for introduction for your consideration.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Mayor Brotman and members of the City Council. I'm here today to introduce the ordinance prohibiting the use, sale, and distribution of certain polystyrene products. Today, we'll cover the goals and purpose of the regulations. We'll outline some of the stakeholders that the regulations will pertain to. We'll go into a little bit more detail about the policy, and then finally, we'll cover a quick review of the exemption process. So why are we here today? Why do we want to introduce this ban on prohibition on the use of certain polystyrene products? As you may or may not know, there's a lack of recycling infrastructure for certain products, for certain materials in Southern California, such as polystyrene, which is not generally recycled and ends up in landfill. Obviously, plastic products, such as polystyrene, often cause litter in our communities, and we try to keep our communities clean. There are emissions associated with the production of polystyrene, such as hydrofluorocarbons, which are a potent greenhouse gas. We want to continue to change our habits of our one-and-done throwaway practices. So the goals of the polystyrene regulations are to obviously minimize the use of polystyrene products, encourage reuse of materials, and also to develop regulations that can be implemented effectively. The regulations that we have proposed today are based on best practices seen in other jurisdictions. By the numbers, in California, there are 170 ordinances on the books so far regarding polystyrene or single-use plastics. By my counting, there are 35 plus jurisdictions in Southern California that have a polystyrene or single-use plastics prohibition. And we're not the first to come to this game. The first ban started in 1998 regarding polystyrene products.
Question, sorry to
Yes,
interrupt,
sir.
but the 170 is California?
That is California, yes, Mayor Brotman.
The number you mentioned is Southern California.
35 plus is Southern California, correct. So who will these regulations potentially pertain to? So food and beverage providers, so restaurants, cafes, cafeterias, bars, delicatessens, et cetera, within our community. Foodware vendors, so those are suppliers, supermarkets, and convenience stores. And finally, the City of Glendale will be subject to one portion of these regulations. So now I'll briefly go into the policy details. So what are we proposing? We're proposing the prohibition of the use, sale, and distribution of certain polystyrene products. Namely, we're talking about foodware items, polystyrene coolers, polystyrene packaging materials, polystyrene produce trays, and finally, polystyrene egg cartons. So the first is no food or beverage provider shall use, distribute, or sell any polystyrene foodware in conjunction with the sale of prepared food, raw food, or beverages at any location in the city. So what are we talking about here? We're talking about products such as plates, bowls, cups, and takeout containers and utensils that, again, are made of polystyrene. We also recommend that polystyrene coolers shall not be sold or distributed within the City of Glendale. So that is coolers that are not encased in a durable material, such as the picture that you see here. We also recommend that no vendor in the city shall distribute or use polystyrene packaging materials, including but not limited to foam peanuts, foam popcorn, or packing noodles. As you can imagine, these materials are easily blowable and cause litter within our community. Finally, we recommend that no person may sell, distribute, or use in the city any meat, fish, or produce trays or egg cartons made whole or in part from polystyrene. And for the sake of repeating myself, we just want to be clear that we are talking about polystyrene products only. So those are products that are identified by the resin code 6 or the letters PS polystyrene. We are not talking about other plastic products, as you'll see shortly. In terms of complying with the regulations, as mentioned, and I'll repeat myself, we are just talking about polystyrene products. To comply with the regulations, there are a number of opportunities available. For example, we may want to use reusable products, but plastic products are not banned under this set of regulations. So the plastic products that may be available are plastic products such as PET, which consists normally of like clear takeout containers, cold cups, deli containers, for example, HDPE, which are like generally like food storage containers, or polypropylene, which are plastic straws, deli containers, again, takeout containers, and PLA plastics. Those are plastics which are made from biomass such as corn, starch, or sugarcane. Again, all these types of plastic products would be allowed under these set of regulations. Additionally, paper, fiber, and chipboard products would be allowed in these regulations, as well as aluminum products. So, in developing the regulations, we have established some potential exemptions. As mentioned earlier, coolers and ice chests that are surrounded by another durable material would be exempt from this chapter. Food bought by individuals for personal consumption would also be exempt. If there's a local declared emergency, the ordinance will be suspended during the duration of that emergency. And where food and beverage providers have to comply with the American Disabilities Act, they would be allowed to supply, on request, plastic straws to those that do request them. Also, we have in place an exemption for those food and beverage providers that have purchased polystyrene products within 1 year of the potential implementation of this ordinance, would be exempt from this ordinance for 6 months. That would give those food and beverage providers and vendors the opportunity to draw down on their stocks and create relationships or work those relationships with their suppliers to find alternate products. And finally, the city manager may grant an exemption for 1 year in finding that compliance would cause undue hardship to any of the potential food and beverage providers. And what we mean by undue hardship is where there are no reasonable alternatives to polystyrene food serviceware for reasons unique to the applicant. So those applicants would come to us and they'd give us the reasons why they don't think that they could comply with these regulations, and then we'd work with and talk to those applicants regarding that exemption. And then finally, obviously, where compliance with the requirements of this chapter would deprive a person of a legally protected right. As mentioned earlier, a number of cities have, a lot of cities have, and jurisdictions have implemented such ordinances. Cities that have implemented a polystyrene ordinance, such as we are proposing today, such as Long Beach, Culver City, and Hermosa Beach, have a fine schedule of an administrative fine schedule, where there's a $100 fine for the first violation, a $200 fine for the second, and a fine not exceeding $500 for the third. LA County, or City of LA rather, who has also implemented such regulations, has a $250 violation for the $250 charge for the first violation, $500 for the second, and $1,000 for the third. We are proposing that for the first and second violations, we provide a written notice, and then for the third violation, there's a $25 fine per day, up to a maximum of $300 within 1 year. These are the same fines and fee schedules that are associated with our disposable food accessories on request ordinance. And again, the idea is to help people come into compliance with the regulations. We have done outreach. In terms of outreach, has been focused on informing and pushing out information to vendors. We have done a mailing to food and beverage providers within the City of Glendale. We've done a webinar. We've also sent information out to business associations, all the business associations in Glendale, asking them to pass that information on to their members. And we've had a survey out there. The survey's been out for quite a while, and we've had 129 responses to the survey. As predictable, the residents in our city feel that it's necessary and want us to go ahead with such regulations. From the business side, I think we found that the businesses do agree that there is opportunity to move away from polystyrene products. There is a concern with costs. And we put this in there. We don't know whether that's concern with costs associated with moving away from plastics or just moving away from polystyrene, but we just wanted to make sure that that was in there. And that businesses generally do support the idea of, as I said, moving away from polystyrene. And our surveys indicated that 71% of the businesses who responded to the survey are trying in their own practices to move away from the use of single-use products. Finally, in the regulations, we are proposing that the regulations state that the city shall not use or distribute single-use plastic beverage bottles for city businesses. So that's when we hold events, hold meetings, etc. We'd want to look for alternatives to plastic bottles. There are many alternatives using aluminum materials such as water, flavored drinks, energy drinks, rehydration drinks, and sodas too. So there's lots of alternative products on the market to quench one's thirst. Next steps, we have a website of information regarding these regulations. We also have a large list of suppliers and products that provide alternative products to polystyrene. Although not directly associated with these regulations, we are continuing outreach on the plastic waste reduction regulations, which is an additional set of regulations. I'm happy to say we've just signed a contract with a consultant to help us do that effective outreach in our community. So with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 cards and I think 3 or 4 people on the phone.
Correct, Mayor.
Does anybody have any burning questions that they want to ask first, or is it okay if we go to the phones?
I don't know if this is burning, but my question is, we're going to be fining them $25 per day. How are we going to enforce that? Are we going back every day and seeing if they've done away with their polystyrene? I mean, it just seems like it's unenforceable.
So that enforcement process would have to be done through our economic development code enforcement program. So I think somebody would come to them and say, or they would be notified that such a business is not in compliance with the regulations, then they would go and visit that business, and they would inform the business that until they come into compliance with the regulations, there would be a fine of $25 a day. I don't think they'd go back every day, but they'd have that conversation with the business that is not in compliance with the regulations.
Just seems like it would be easier for everybody if we just did a flat, $250 for the first violation, or $100 for the first violation, $150 for the second, and
Sure, yeah, if that's what the Darius wants us to do, we can change the regulations
okay,
to do that.
all right, thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Is it okay if we go to the speakers then? Okay. So we have, we'll start with Jackie Gish.
Thank you. Mayor Brotman, City Council members, I strongly support the citywide polystyrene ban. This is a great step forward, and I applaud the city and the Sustainability Office for bringing this forward. I hope you will all vote for it and that the city publicizes it to get compliance, as well as letting residents know how to report violations. I also hope that you keep this on your radar and examine how the ban is working next year and see if any adjustments need to be made to get full compliance. I also hope that further steps on reducing waste, such as banning single-use plastics, will be scheduled in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan Durham?
Mayor Brotman, members of the council, I'm Alan Durham. My comments are about enforcement. I agree with Councilmember Devine's sort of sliding scale of fees, but not $25 a day, which seems hard to enforce. But I know that we already have an ordinance on plastic utensils that restaurants are supposed to ask if you have takeout whether you want disposable plastic utensils. And I still frequent some restaurants in Glendale that just automatically put them in your bag without asking. And my question is, that's a current ordinance, I believe. And how do residents go about reporting that so the city staff could follow up with the owners of the restaurants? Not to fine them, but just to inform them of the ordinance and answer any questions. I don't know if there's a way to report this on the city website so the city staff can follow up, but if not, there really should be. Because I think that's how you're going to get compliance is if, just like code enforcement, that's usually the residents saying, I think there's a code violation on my street. Thank you.
Thank you. And we've got next Monica Campagna, who we haven't seen here in a while.
Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you, Mayor Brotman and council members, Mr. Galani and Mr. Jones and city staff. I'm very excited to be here tonight to thank you all for perhaps making this the night that we finally begin to prohibit the use of polystyrene in our city. This is a product that has high costs to human health, wildlife, and the environment, and burdens us with high cleanup and disposal costs, all factors that Mr. Jones has laid out in depth in the staff report. I've been wishing our city would begin to rid ourselves of this material for over a decade now, and I know that several of you have as well. And I'd like to thank David Jones and his staff for working to prepare this ordinance and your outreach and education efforts this summer. And thank you to City Council members who have championed this effort. Tonight, we can join the state of Maryland, which enacted the first ban statewide in 2019 on polystyrene, as well as the states of Maine, New Jersey, New York, Vermont, and the District of Columbia, who currently have bans in place now, plus 7 additional states that have passed bans that will come into effect in a few months. With the passage of this ordinance, we will join what the Surfrider Foundation has compiled a list of at least 131 local ordinances in California, and these include our neighbors Pasadena, South Pasadena, and Los Angeles, plus Culver City, Ojai, Manhattan Beach, and Malibu, which all have full EPS bans, plus 12 counties, including LA County, and 27 municipalities in other counties, including Santa Barbara, San Diego, and Thousand Oaks. Together, these laws cover about 20.6 million people, or about 53% of the population, and that number doesn't include the Los Angeles City ordinance, which was just passed in December and bans the sale of all EPS products and not just foodware. Let me just skip ahead to say that around the world, at least 66 countries have bans now, including the entire European Union, Canada, India, Chile, the Bahamas, Norway, Thailand, and Taiwan. Even China had a ban, which it had in place until the foam lobbyists were able to get them to change it back. So please, I hope we can add Glendale to this long list of places in the world that have already taken concrete steps to rid themselves of this product, and please enact the ban immediately without delay and provide effective communication of the ban to our local businesses. Please give us residents a means to report violations so that the city can help with education. Please consider scheduling a timeline to bring this item back to look at compliance issues and how to address them so that this is an effective ban. And please move on to other parts of our plastic waste ordinance quickly. On behalf of my colleagues at the Glendale Environmental Coalition, we're very grateful for your support of this ordinance. We think it's a great step forward, and we thank you very much.
Thank you. And then we've got some callers.
Mayor, now we have 4 callers online. Jennifer Pinkerton, you have 3 minutes. Jennifer, go ahead.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Thank you very much for considering this ordinance, and thank you to staff and Mr. Jones for developing all the reports. I believe Councilmember Devine and I first talked about polystyrene probably 5 years ago before we even had a sustainability commission in Glendale. So it takes a while sometimes, but we eventually get there. I would just like to support the statements made by my Glendale Environmental Coalition colleagues, Jackie Gish and Monica Campagna. I do want to, rather than belabor and repeat what they said, I do want to address the issue of fines. Fines are very difficult. It can often be much more costly for a city to actually issue a fine to a business. Just a lot of staff time goes into that. In Los Angeles, I was involved in bringing the polystyrene ban to law in LA, and fines are difficult. But one thing I might recommend is, I don't want to call it public shaming, but possibly a publicly accessible spreadsheet reporting businesses that have violated the ban and how often they do it and what dates. I think that might be more effective because, as we know, there are going to be some businesses for whom paying the fines is just seen as a cost of doing business, and it may not change their behavior in the short run. So I would strongly advocate for something that's public facing. And just to reiterate something that Monica said, I hope we'll see this as the foundation for broader, stronger efforts going forward, particularly zero waste. And I'd be happy to work with Mr. Jones and any city staff on that. We adopted a zero waste ordinance in Los Angeles that addresses both city facilities and pertains to all events held on city property. That includes everything on streets, alleyways, city parks, and so on. But thank you very much for considering the ordinance, and I hope you will support it. Thank you.
Chloe Brown, you have 3 minutes. Chloe, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Chloe Brown, and I'm calling on behalf of Californians Against Waste, an environmental advocacy organization. I'm calling to express my support if there are some changes to the proposed ordinance. While I do go ahead and applaud the invaluable time spent by staff, including Mr. Jones, on this ordinance, there are some concerns that I have regarding the use of the term marine degradable. I would really appreciate seeing this struck from the ordinance and adjusted to be compostable, because there simply isn't a clear definition of what marine degradable truly does mean. As we've all seen and heard in troubling news across the world on the impacts of the plastics crisis, plastic does degrade and break down into smaller pieces, but it does not disappear. So I would prefer that the term compostable is used when providing an outline for what businesses are able to go ahead and use. My second concern that I have with this ordinance is regarding BTUs, as multiple folks have brought up on today's council meeting, that it can difficult to go ahead and issue fines on a daily basis, and the fine amount is quite low. So I would like to see that the ordinance mirrors the structure of LA cities in terms of providing one written notice and then subsequent fines of $100, $200, and $500, depending on the number of violations. Thank you again for considering this ordinance and appreciate your work on it.
Craig Cadwalder. Craig, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Craig Cadwalder, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Surfrider Foundation South Bay Chapter. And I applaud this coming forward. It's great to see that the city of Glendale is enacting something that has been adopted by many, many cities around the state and literally around the world. And I guess you'd say better late than never, but I applaud you moving forward with this. I would address the fines. I suggest that something stronger is implemented, which was mentioned several times earlier. And most of the ordinances I've seen, and I believe I have them all, is generally some of them have one warning and then a $100 fine for the first violation, $200 for the second, $500 for the third, with no cap on within a 12-month period. And as was mentioned earlier, the city of LA and the county of LA both have stronger fine structures in place, so I'd like to see that. I did notice that on the original ordinance number 5964 that this is modifying, that it actually reads under violations and penalties that it was suspended until the applicability of the requirements of this chapter are expanded beyond city events. I think this polystyrene element does do that. So that would mean that the internal city facilities element of this ordinance would become enforced. But again, the marine degradable element mentioned in that, I challenge anyone to see if they can buy marine degradable foodware. It doesn't exist. And so if that is in fact activated, I think you would need to change the marine degradable part of it. But in the event, absolutely, to put some teeth in this and upgrade the bans from the $25, $300 cap. A lot of bad players would consider $300 the cost of doing business and just ignore the ordinance. Thank you again for bringing this forward, and I would fully support this with the changes, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. Thanks.
Emmanuel Gulakian. Emmanuel, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor Brotman and members of the council. Upon learning about these restrictions, it sounds quite troublesome. You know, these sort of, micromanaging of people's lives, what materials they should use, what they should not use, such as the plastic bags ban. A lot of observers say that's been kind of a flop, that it actually causes more plastic bags to be purchased in the communities whenever there are plastic bags in place. And some of these folks, I don't know, it's quite troublesome that they have this level of influence in our city. I heard Mr. Jones earlier, and upon looking at his commission, the Sustainability Commission, some of what they expressed is quite laughable, frankly. They posted something on social media, take the Clean Air Day pledge, and one of them is eat no meat for at least one day. That kind of advice, it's a little out of touch potentially dangerous as well. For example, a serving of ribeye steak has a lot of nutrients: protein, iron, zinc, many nutrients. So it's just dubious as to what whether these people know what they're talking about. And it's also quite troubling to hear these folks from the Glendale Environmental Coalition again having this level of influence. If citizens in Glendale paid closer attention, they would see that these folks played a significant part in your electricity bills, scheduled to increase significantly, 20%, 30% next year. They're the ones that came into our city council, intimidated our council members to continuously delay our glazing plant upgrades. And so plus, I would just say we have bigger priorities in the city. We've got folks on Brand Boulevard Saturday night selling hot dogs, not safe for human consumption, right on the sidewalk. This causes a lot of pollution in our city, generates emissions, is a nuisance to many people. And so I would also say last night I went to CVS and I saw a robbery almost take place. This was on San Fernando and Los Feliz. So there's a lot of trouble in the city, and the idea that we're going to be harassing people about what kind of materials they use, we're going to be able to enforce all of that. We got trouble keeping our streets safe and clean. It's just ridiculous. So I'm just really frustrated that these kind of failed policies keep on coming up, even though it just looks like to be the product.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Your 3 minutes is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Those all of our calls.
Mayor, that was all of our callers.
Okay. Let me see if we have questions, comments from the dais.
Yes.
Councilmember Kasakian?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to make a comment to individuals who are so concerned about what this is going to do, and is it possible, and the overburdening of individuals. Like McDonald's, one of the largest corporations in America, banned polystyrene 10 years ago. Used to have these little styrofoam clamshells for all their sandwiches, and then they also still retained it in their coffee cups. They got rid of it. You can go online and check to see what happened to McDonald's stock in the last 10 years. And just spoiler alert, it did not go down. Their stock is doing just fine. I think that, we know that polystyrene, I believe it should be banned just because of the environmental and health hazards. It's a non-biodegradable material. It lingers in landfills. When it gets into the oceans, it floats around in these large islands of garbage. When it does eventually break down into whatever it does, it releases toxins into the soil and in the water. So I think that it's not a matter of whether we're trying to keep our city safe or we're trying to ban these harmful products from making it into the environment and causing greater concerns down the road. We can do both, and I would support the introduction of the ordinance.
Thank you.
Want me? Sure. So listening to the callers, I think it's a good idea to, and I'd like to suggest this to my colleagues, that on the first violation, that we give them a written notice instead of a fine, to warn them that we are aware of what's going on, and that would like to have them obey the ordinance. And then after that, we can use a monetary fine. Maybe the first time would be $100, and then up to $200 and $300, with no cap for the year. And I also thought there were some suggestions that we received in an email that I thought were good and had some merit. And I think as far as the community goes, and for businesses and customers, that the city should issue a press release with phone numbers and email addresses for reporting violations, enable the My Glendale app to be used for reporting violations. I also thought it was a good idea that if a business is granted an exemption, that there should be something at that location to inform the public so that they don't report a violation, and that would just kind of be a waste of time. So I thought those were good suggestions. I think the more education and the more outreach that we do on this, the more successful the program will be. So I would be more than happy to approve this item.
Mayor, one other question to staff. Is there would it change anything if we were to change biodegradable to compostable?
Councilmember Kasaki, no, it wouldn't. And we've already defined compostable within the definition of the ordinance, so that would be an easy do.
Okay. Thank you.
So I have a problem with this, and the problem I have is the single-use plastic beverage bottles. Number one, they are not polystyrene. They are PET. So throwing that into this whole discussion and labeling as a polystyrene ban, I think is a little misleading. They're not the same, are they, Mr. Jones?
Councilmember Najarian, no, they're not. And the polystyrene was just for city operations, not for the community as a whole.
You mean the bottles?
Sorry, yes, the plastic bottles, I apologize, yeah.
Yeah, at first, it starts with city operations. Also, the analysis you made about the, let's see, how did you put it? Lack of recycling does not apply to the same degree as the polystyrene, correct? In fact, many of those bottles are recycled, and it's different than the polystyrene, correct?
So PET bottles can be recycled in Southern California. That is correct. I think the idea of doing that for city operations is just to establish a best practice of not using plastics where there are other materials available.
I see this as the first step towards making it a citywide ban. Pardon my suspicion. The third issue that I have is the definition of single-use plastics. Now, those bottles do have a screw top, correct? It's not like a bottle of beer where you pop the top and you really can't use it anymore. In fact, you can take a drink, you can screw it on, you can put it down. In fact, I don't know if anybody else does, refills those bottles at home. If I want to drink something, rather than get a cup out of the pantry, I take my bottle that I had used earlier in the day, take it to the refrigerator, and fill it up. So that doesn't make it a one-time, single-use object, does it? Why put a screw top if you're only going to use it one time? My assertion is that the screw top makes it a multi-use bottle. I would love to have that debate with anyone else out there. If they intended it to be a one-time use, it would be something like the beer bottle. You pop the top, that's it. There's no way you're getting that cap back on the bottle. And I don't like it. I don't like it. You're throwing this into the polystyrene argument where it's bad and we hate polystyrene, granted. But these are water bottles that I've seen used. Where have I seen them used? When there was a fire not long ago. The firefighters are at their staging area. They are provided with cases and cases of these bottles to drink. It's really not there's no other convenient way to get these guys water in the quantity and the dosage that they're asking for. So I have a problem with the bottles. I mean, I don't think it's fair to put them in with polystyrene. I don't think they're multi-use. And I think that because of their design, and it's being recycled as it is in many cases, much more than the polystyrene. The argument for the polystyrene is it's not being recycled. As you said, it's how many swimming pools or football fields, you had that little graphic, 290 Olympic pools worth of plastic a day, and presumably you're talking about polystyrene. So I have a problem. I don't know if someone's trying to slip something by us here, but I think they should be separate discussions. We've got definition problems. We've got recycling clarifications we need to make. That's my problem. I'm okay with polystyrene with the ordinance as it is, but I don't like this water bottle thing. It serves too many uses. It's too convenient for many of us. It oftentimes, well, even though you say it's only city use, I understand that, but I think that's just a precursor to imposing it on the entire city. So I have a problem with that part, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So let's see. I don't know, maybe I'll address a few things. I mean, these plastic bottles are not reused. Okay, maybe you reuse one or two, but if you look at the plastic bottles that are sold, I bet you 99.9% are used once. Okay, and I'm probably underestimating that. I don't know if the statistics are out there, but that would be what I would posit. And it was actually included in this whole package that we had come to us twice before, and you didn't raise objections then. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't
I
change your
wasn't
mind.
foreclosed, Mr. City Attorney. Am I foreclosed from raising an objection at any point in the process?
No, I mean, it came to us twice. But anyway, you're allowed to change your mind, but I just want to say it did come to us once when we instructed staff to prepare the ordinance. It came with a whole package of things. And then when the ordinance came back to us and we decided to kind of do more outreach, it was in there as well. And it's just now being rolled in because it's low-hanging fruit. It's an easy one. We're kind of bifurcating things because we found some of the elements of what we wanted to do are a little more complicated and need more outreach. So Mr. Jones is just bringing back kind of the ones that I think are simple and straightforward, and that's the polystyrene, and that's the beverage bottles for city operations. And whether it becomes citywide, we'll see. Let's see our experience. It's like what we did with gas leaf blowers. We first did it ourselves. We learned. We saw what worked, what didn't work, and then we'll see. We'll see. You know what kinds of challenges we have. Maybe we do have to have exceptions for situations where they're firefighters. You know, we can. I'm sure we can be flexible because it's our own operations. It's just in our administrative code. It's not. Isn't that right? It's just in our what do you call it? Our administrative manual.
It's the administrative policy manual in which that would sit.
So we could tweak it. Anyway, that's all. I just responding to that.
May I make one response?
Yes, please.
So about the 99% of us don't use that. I bet more than 50% of us do take a drink at one point, in one place, and at one time, screw it back on, either get in your car and drive somewhere or go to some other place and use it again. That's not a single use. That's a multi-use.
Okay, I don't want to debate it. If you drink the bottle once, it's a single use for that amount of liquid, unless you're filling it up again. Anyway, I think this is this polystyrene ban is long overdue. Of course, we are not a leader here, unfortunately. We're lagging in some cases by decades. Many other cities, virtually most cities, have done this. So definitely, I want to do it. I would my request on the fees would be, I agree that we should have a warning first. I think always, because people are always, no matter how much outreach we do, people are not going to know, and that warning will kind of wake them up. So warning first. I would say we should follow kind of the standard that we have in our policy for infractions. I'm going to just pull it up, so give me a second. But in our Glendale Municipal Code 1.20.010 infractions, we have our administrative fee schedule. I think we should follow that. It's a warning, then $100, $200, and $500. That's what I would ask my colleagues to support. And I do like the idea of the...
Say up to 500?
With a cap.
No, with no cap.
No
Right
cap.
now, our administrative fee schedule
No cap.
is a warning, 100, 200, and then the third within a calendar year is 500. And it would continue. If there's a fourth, it's a 500, a fifth. Hopefully you're not getting to that, but no cap. That's what we do for other infractions. That would be my request. I like the idea of seeing if we could do something in the My Glendale app for people to report. And I definitely want to make sure we do full-on education on this because, we are still a city that believes that we want to get people to comply. We don't want to punish people, right? These fines are for the people that are just refusing to comply. That's why we need the fines. But for the vast majority, once they understand what the policy is and they understand what the alternatives are, they will comply. Most of the problem is getting to them, getting that education to them. So I know we're going to be signing contracts, or I think we're going to be signing contracts soon with a consultant who will do outreach for our other plastics ordinance that we're developing, and I would assume that they're going to be getting the word out about this. And Mr. Durham raised the point about the, what do we call that other one, the foodware accessories on demand? What do we?
Sorry, disposable food accessories on request.
Yeah, on request. So actually, Mr. Durham, they're not even supposed to ask you whether you want that. Yeah, you're supposed to request, unless it's a drive-through. If it's a drive-through, they're allowed to ask because, you know, it's a little bit of a special circumstance. But normally when you go in, if you ask, they'll give it to you. If you don't ask, they should not give it to you, and they should not even prompt you. I think that's a statewide law now. That's not just a Glendale thing.
That is correct.
Yeah. And the problem is, as much as we do to get the word out, people are still not doing it. So again, that's this problem we need to address, hopefully with this group that we're going to hire. The My Glendale app, we get more people reporting, not to just be snitches and give people a hard time, but to make sure we're targeting that education to places where this is happening. So I hope we can do that. The last thing I'll say is I really hope we can move on to these next steps, because we still have, I think, 3 components of our original ordinance that are waiting. One of them is something that Councilmember Devine brought up. It's got to be 5 years, which is plastic utensils, stirrers, and straws, right? That was one of our things. We know that there are good alternatives, and I don't think they're much more expensive or more expensive at all, right? And so we want to ban plastic utensils, stirrers, and straws. We want to get that reusable policy in place so that for dine-in, people are using reusables rather than disposables, with obvious, the obvious exceptions for places that don't have the space for a refrigerator, for a washing machine. And we've got, maybe food courts. I think we've got some situations we know are really, it just is too difficult, and we'll exempt those. But I want to get on with those 2, and I don't think there was that much pushback on those from the restaurants that we went out to. So I would like to kind of move those forward quickly. And then the third piece, which is the standards for other single-use plastics, I know that's going to take a little while. I really, really, really hope that within 6 months we could bring that back. We said in January we were going to bring it back after 6 months. It's now 9 months or 10 months. So I know it's complicated. We need to give it the time to make sure it works, but let's please get that back to us within 6 months. So that's basically all I have to say, and I would, unless there are other comments, I would welcome a motion in a second.
Okay, I will.
I'm sorry, before you take a motion, Mayor Brauman, before we make a commitment to a 6-month period, I will need to sit down with Mr. Jones and consider his other assignments. We'll endeavor to bring it back within that 6-month period, but at this point, we can't make a commitment, so we'll do our best.
That was just a please, so I'm not.
Okay, so I will.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm just going to note it's an introduction of an ordinance, so whoever's going to introduce the ordinance, maybe introduce it with the changes that you would recommend and you've discussed.
Okay, I was just going to introduce the ordinance with one change regarding the administrative fines, that we look at the first violation as a written notice, then the second is $100, $200, $500 with no cap. And I believe that was the only.
There was some discussion about replacing marine degradable with compostable. I don't know how.
Yeah, maybe Mr. I don't personally. That's not related to what we're doing today. That's a problem. It is a problem, but it's a problem that's sitting in our previous ordinances, and I think we're going to clean that up in 6 months or whenever the single-use plastics ordinance comes back to us. We'll clean that bit up, right?
We can clean that language up with the introduction of this ordinance because this is an amendment to the current ordinance,
clean
which
it up
has
now?
that, yes,
We
so
can, yeah.
we can change that
If we
language.
clean it up and we change it to compostable, is that something that is a definition that is acceptable to us?
That is a definition that would be
Okay, well then
acceptable
in
to us.
that case, maybe we just do the cleanup now?
Okay,
If you're-
all right, then we will change the verbiage to what is it,
Compostable. That would
compostable.
be
I can't read my
revising-
writing. Compostable.
Revising language in section
Yeah,
8.42.030.
Wherever we have
Yes,
marine
that's
degradable,
it.
we'll change it to compostable.
So moved, so moved.
Or introduced, so introduced.
Introduced, yes, okay.
All right,
All right, good.
very good. Okay, then what is next?
Next item is 8B, Public Works regarding traffic-related electrical devices maintenance program award service agreement. 1, resolution dispensing the competitive bidding, approving a contract award through a competitive request for proposal procurement process, and authorizing the city manager or designee to execute a multi-year service agreement, including the option for 2 one-year extensions with Unix Traffic LLC to provide maintenance services for the city's traffic signals and other traffic-related electrical devices.
Okay, Mr. Galanian.
Mayor Brotman, Member City Council, Mr. Ambrani, our Director of Public Works, has a brief presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Galanian. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. This contract is to operate our 242 traffic signals. We have 9 signalized pedestrian crosswalks, 62 flashing beacons, and this contract will help us with managing those in terms of the operations and ongoing maintenance. We sent out an RFP. We received 3 proposals, and the recommendation was for Unix LLC to be our new contractor. So with that, I would recommend the council to approve this, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions from our colleagues?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Motion and a second. We'll go to roll call then.
Councilmember Al-Sadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Good. What's next?
Next is item 8C, Management Services regarding San Gabriel Mountains National Monument Expansion Support. 1, resolution supporting San Gabriel Mountain National Monument Expansion. Mayor, I do have a card for this item.
Okay. Mr. Galanian.
Yeah, Mayor Brotman, Member City Council, on October 24th, Council requested a resolution supporting the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument Expansion effort. This expansion, championed by Senator Alex Padilla and Representative Judy Chu, aims to protect an additional 109,000 acres, enhancing equitable access to nature, promoting public health, safeguarding drinking water sources, and addressing climate and biodiversity concerns. The initiative is supported unanimously by various entities, including the LA County Board of Supervisors, the LA Mayor Bass, indigenous communities, and state agencies, and seeks the city's endorsement to urge President Biden to preserve these critical lands for future generations.
Mayor Brotman, I would like to...
Yeah, Councilmember Kasakian.
I would just like to make the motion. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Again, this has the unanimous support of the LA County Board of Supervisors along with neighboring jurisdictions, and overall, I think it's good for future generations and for current generations if this is initiated and adopted by the White House. So I support the effort, and I would like to make the motion.
Okay, well, I do have a card
Mayor, and we also just got a caller in for this item.
and a caller. So Jackie Gish?
Mayor Brotman, City Councils, I am strongly in favor of the resolution supporting the expansion of the San Gabriel Mountains National Monument. This will be a great step forward in preserving these local critical areas for recreation, habitat preservation, public health, drinking water sources, and more. I also want to be sure that you are also supporting the efforts by Representative Adam Schiff, who's pushing the U.S. Senate to designate the Rim of the Valley corridor as part of the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area. This area includes the Verdugo Mountains as well as Griffith Park and more. This designation will preserve this area for the future. We are fortunate to live in an area surrounded by nature and hope that this will be preserved for generations to come.
Thank you. And this is the Rim of the Valley effort, initiative is separate from this, I believe. Okay. And yeah. Okay. We have, you're saying we have a call.
Elise Kalfayan, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Brotman and City Council members. Thank you so much for bringing this proposal forward to support creating this national, or expanding this national monument. It's going to help address climate and biodiversity issues, protect important habitat and wildlife corridors, contribute to state and federal goals to conserve 30% of public lands, and also help with our drinking water locally because the area is a source of local drinking water. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Any other calls?
Mayor, I have no more callers or cards on this agenda.
So Councilmember Kasakian moved the item.
Second?
Second. Let's go to roll call.
Councilmember Asadrian, Devine,
Yes.
Kasakian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Brotman.
Yes. Very good. Moving right along, what is next?
Mayor, next item is oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not a part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report. Mayor, I do have 8 cards.
Okay. And before we go to that, I want to ask the city attorney a question. So on the polystyrene discussion that we just had, can we bring that ordinance back in 2 parts? Can we have the plastic bottles for city operations as a separate vote in consideration for Councilmember Najarian?
Mr. Mayor, so it was introduced as one item. If you want, we can call that item back after oral communications and just separate them out, introduce them separately, and then we'll do that, and then we'll bring them.
I think Councilmember.
Can't bifurcate it at the time of,
You know what?
I think you can.
We can probably we'll bring back 3 options, 1 of them together, and then 2 of them bifurcated, and then the council can decide what you want to do.
Okay, I think that would be appreciated if we could do it that way. Be fair. Okay. So we'll go to oral communications. And do we have any callers, or is this?
Mayor, we do not have any callers, just 8 cards I just handed you.
So, Mayor, before some of the speakers come up, because I see a lot of the same faces that we saw last week, and I can anticipate what the issue is going to be in regards to. I've had a couple of conversations. I know staff has sent us information in regards to this one specific situation. But I just want to say that I personally was very disturbed by the fact that someone would take a building in which we have Section 8 recipients, people who are by definition vulnerable and require assistance, and without any regard to the life situation and the impacts of their decision, do things that would put these people out on the street and looking for other places to live, especially in a very tough economy and housing market. I would like us to explore ways for us to initiate a program to help Section 8 recipients who find themselves in this situation, and ask the city manager and staff to look and bring back a report as soon as possible to see how we can financially assist these individuals, because finding places to live right now and to rent in Glendale is becoming increasingly challenging. So that would be one request that I'd have, and I don't know if any of my colleagues, and we can agendize this. I guess I don't need it. Do we need a second to have that come back?
Not to put on the forward agenda.
Forward agenda?
Yeah, we'll bring it next week, and then.
Let me just ask the city manager. In late November, we have the rental rights program coming back to us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, November 28th.
Is this something that can be part of that?
Yes, most certainly. So when it goes on the new business agenda for next week, council
then
can
we
have that discussion and direct staff to include it in the rental rights program. That'll come back on November 28th.
So, and in addition to that, since we are having these, and I brought this up to the city manager, and hopefully it's something else we can include, it has come to my attention that when at least one other building has exchanged hands, it has a new owner, that people who've been living in that building, some of them for over 20 years, received a letter saying that in addition to the legally allowed increase in rent, that individuals living in that apartment had to also pay what I heard up to $700 towards their security deposit. That's a huge amount for a lot of people. They may not have that. If someone has been living in a building for 20 years, sure, they can have the rent increase, but this additional burden of a security deposit is something that I'd like to have staff or this report also addressing for us to look into if it's something that we want to take action on as well.
Yeah, and hopefully, so with that revamp of the rental rights, we can look at things like the amount of notification that's required, relocation assistance, we can look at return of deposit, and a number of these things. I think we should cover all of those issues. But let me, I guess, let me start with the first couple, and then when we get to the folks who want to speak on Lomita before, maybe we can have staff. Is there anybody who can speak to what we have learned and
I can.
what we are in the process of doing to
I
help?
can. Yeah, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
okay. But we'll start with Grace Brands, because I think you're on a different subject.
No,
No?
I'm not.
It's the same subject?
It's the same subject in a different building.
Oh, okay. Okay, let's hear.
Thank you, Mayor Brotman and council members and city attorney for taking the time to hear us tonight. My name is Grace, and my husband and I have enjoyed living here in Glendale for about the last 5 years. Unfortunately, we might not be in Glendale much longer. Last week, we heard the comments of elderly Glendale tenants who received a no-fault notice to vacate with new ownership with the intent to displace. And despite the further intimidation that I might face from my own landlord, I needed to come here tonight and share and add our own story. In many cases, landlords and tenants aren't aware of the rules. There's a lot of ambiguity. It's time for clear guidance and enforcement. My entire building received 60-day notices from our new landlord for extensive renovations. We're supposed to be out the day before Thanksgiving. We would have welcomed an 8.8% rent increase instead, but the landlord never entertained it. In our case, the new unit will be offered at 38% higher in one shot. The facts and the documents reveal a clear intent to displace or take advantage of 8 hardworking families instead of raising the rent annually to reach market rents. Our landlord's notices have already scared 2 families with young children into leaving and put an elderly woman into a higher rent situation, causing her to return to work. One of my neighbors is here with me today, and she and her husband are also dealing with the stress and the harassment of the situation. I'm not asking for legal advice, but there are several red flags in here that should be investigated and addressed. There's flooring, paint, kitchen cabinets, light fixtures, bathroom tile. These are cosmetic, which do not qualify as substantial renovations per the Tenant Protection Act. And then I have 3 Glendale building permits in here with a valuation of $0, when the law requires that these renovations be more than 8 times the monthly rent times the number of rental units the work is done on. And then I have a suspicious estimate that is supposedly dated in February, signed in February, but generated in May. Our unit's not a luxury one, but it's a great unit. Our previous management had made recent repairs to the HVAC, the roof, the deck, and we were still able to live here recently through the entire plumbing renovations done into the whole building in the basement. We've always paid rent on time, even through the pandemic. We still pay rent on time, yet I got this concerning envelope from my landlord on our door a few weeks ago, handwritten in red, saying that he refuses to take my rent until we properly vacated the building. Look, I get this is a complex issue. This is a business, landlords own the building, and they have the right to renovate following the rules this council has enacted. But we can't have owners running multifamily properties in this careless manner. Not when there's one of the most basic human needs on the line. LA Times recently reported 50,000 evictions recorded this year since February in LA County. Keep in mind, some cities don't record these notices until the unlawful detainer stage, which a number of tenants don't get to because they just don't know their rights. If landlords need to increase their income and the tenants are not at fault, there are many ways to make that income without displacing many Glendale tenants. In this case, eviction should be a last resort, not a first one. Just cause evictions need more accountability. Estimates don't reflect final invoices. Permits like these are easy to apply for. These notices don't need to be filed with the city. In fact, this is the second 60-day notice that we've gotten. The first one didn't contain any of these supporting documents, but still intimidated 2 families to move out and was served during the LA County eviction moratorium. My landlord's currently renovating the unit next to us. We have reason to believe that the contractors doing the work might not be the ones listed on these permits and estimates. It's unknown if the ones actually doing the work are insured and licensed. One of them was injured recently. Current law requires that these renovations make the unit uninhabitable for more than 30 days. The latest unit hasn't taken that long. Suddenly, when someone's ready to pay significantly more rent for a new lease and an upgraded unit, construction happens in double time. We doubt that 2 of our neighbors' incomes have been verified, yet we're still given a unit at a higher rent. It is concerning that we have seen them do a lot of gardening work around the building lately. We strongly doubt that the landlord is using the just cause law as intended, and whether this is, as the Glendale Code requires, happening in good faith. I urge your office, I urge you council members to investigate whether my case and the many others like it are actually following Glendale Municipal Code. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, this is another one. This is very concerning. I mean, we're hearing of this more and more now. Let's get your address.
Yeah.
Can we get the facts and?
Address and a phone number, contact phone number.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Okay, Arik Sinanian.
Hi, everyone. So last week I ran into my time, so I wanted to continue today since I still haven't received a formal apology for anything that took place on the 24th, I believe it was, or 14th maybe. So I want to talk about the 2 separate situations that took place. And since I know Paula Devine is not interested in apologizing and she's given us her statement last week, I want to talk about the second point that I was making, which is about the executive assistant Mari Mansourian, who apparently is all of your assistant. So I think it's very dangerous when a city staff member harasses someone for comments made publicly here. And earlier, I know he made a prayer that I'm assuming people here participated in, and he said that we need to make each other better and make the community better. And I don't think that's happening here. I think that someone who works for this city, who is getting paid through tax dollars, who is harassing a citizen of this city, no matter who it is, whether it's me or someone else, through public forums, whatever she did, Instagram, email, whatever, for any comments made during this period is not okay. And I'm not going to step down from here or not come back here until an apology is issued. It's not personal. It's not about me. It's about everyone who lives in the city. Anyone should be able to come here and express their feelings. That's freedom of speech. If you think, Artie, that that's freedom of speech, what she did, then what people do here is also freedom of speech. So you should be concerned. This is very dangerous and it's undemocratic that you guys are not apologizing for someone who works for the city of Glendale harassing citizens on their personal Instagram for views expressed here, especially when those views are calling out racism and Armenophobia. It is not okay. I expect an apology from all of you. And it's not just to me, it's to everyone in this city, not just me, not just Bridging the Borders, my organization, not just Armenians, everyone who lives in this city. It's undemocratic for someone of your council, someone who works for your council, to be messaging us on Instagram, berating us, and I can show you the message and I've emailed it to you already. I didn't want to use her name, but her name is Mari Mansourian. She is an executive assistant, and I will not back down until an apology is made. It's very serious. It's very serious. I wouldn't be here demanding an apology if it wasn't serious. No one, not anyone here who comes express his views here should ever be berated. Not me, not anyone else. I don't care what you've heard of me or what you've seen of me. No one gets to disrespect me on my personal Instagram for comments that I made here. Is that clear? Is that understood? Or are you protecting undemocratic behavior? That's undemocratic. If you don't want to apologize for your statements, that's fine. I've taken that down and everyone's taken that down. But you have to apologize for a city staff member DMing me on Instagram and berating me for comments made during this period. It's absolutely not okay. Anyone who's walking down the streets of Glendale, who's a citizen of Glendale, should be able to come here and express their viewpoint. Again, especially if it's concerning racism and Armenophobia or racism of any kind. They should not be berated an hour later when they get home, when they're sitting on their couch, when they're opening their Instagram and see a message from someone who works for the city of Glendale. And not to mention, she was at my event for the Armenian New Year. I've never met this lady a day in my life. I've never been referred to her by Dan Brotman when I sat down with him in Montrose. I've never been referred to her by you, by anyone here. I don't know her, and she has the nerve to come up to me and say, hey, I've heard that you've been reaching out to city council. You should go through me first. I don't have to go through anyone first. They don't have to go through anyone first. They get to come here directly to you because we elected you and we pay for you. So it's not okay for her to come to my event and say that, and it's definitely not okay for her to DM me on Instagram ever or try to silence me for me calling you out for racism. Period. End of story. I still demand an apology, and I'm still waiting, and I'm still going to come back every single week until I get one.
Okay. No. Okay. Anush Nazari. Or I think because this is on, do you want to, well, Anush, why don't you come forward? And Mr. City Manager, could you maybe, before Ms. Nazari speaks, maybe give a little rundown of what we're doing, what we've learned? Is that okay?
Yes. If I may, Mayor Brahman, Member of City Council, I'll address council, not the speaker.
Okay, yeah, address, okay.
As you know, last Tuesday, a number of residents at 332 West Lomita Avenue came forward to City Council with complaints regarding notice of evictions that they had received. Immediately, the following day, immediately after that meeting, our housing staff conducted interviews so far with most of the current residents. My understanding is some of them, not all of them, have received an offer of relocation assistance, as it was indicated that evening. Section 8 recipients are exempt from that requirement. Staff have also reached out to the management company, trying to work with them, trying to get some additional information, and they understand the timing wasn't the best, especially right before the holidays for this notice of eviction. Staff has asked for additional documents from the property management company related to the application for the building permits, and we're waiting to receive those. And we will follow up with the property management company by the end of this week to make sure that all the paperwork that's been required and requested are in place. And we're also looking into emergency housing, potential of emergency housing vouchers for some of the residents, especially Section 8 recipients. So we will provide an update to council later this week.
Okay, and just a question on the documents that we're waiting for. Does that mean that the 60-day clock doesn't start ticking till we have received those documents?
Well, it's not for us, it's really for the tenant, but yeah, we think that that would be the proper interpretation, that they would need to reissue the notices and provide proper documentation.
Okay, so, and if we believe that, how would we make sure that that happens?
All we can do, since we don't enforce that, it's, I mean, we do enforce a just cause, but in terms of the eviction notices, that's a private right action for the tenant. So all we can do, we would certainly, as Mr. Galani already noted, we're going to be reaching out to the owners. So if we see often when we see an area where they didn't comply with a just cause, we will advise the property owners of that. And obviously the tenants seem to be well aware of some of their rights, and we've been talking to them as well.
Okay. So we think that it's,
And I want to say that's our preliminary determination based on the information we have today.
okay, all right. Ms. Nazari.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and all the members of the councilman. My name is Anush Nazari, and I'm going to speak on behalf of the tenants living at 332 West Lomita Avenue Apartments. They're sitting here with me, and whatever they're saying, I am saying the same thing. Tonight, we have gathered here again to express our concerns about the eviction notices because we believe that we are being forcefully moved from our homes. We all disagree with the eviction notices because it's pushing us into homelessness, and here is why. Our number one issue is we all have different problems. Some of us are disabled people. All of us are low income. Others are senior citizens, and some have Section 8 vouchers, Section 8. And in addition to that, you all know that the cost of living in Glendale is very high, and it continues rising in the near future. And we also know that the utility costs are going to increase by 25% by the August of 2024, and there will be additional 15% increase by August 2025. And the charges for the city's rubbish removal has already increased by 500%. And plus that, there will be an additional 7% rental increase every year. And for us, low-income citizens, how are we going to survive this? You all know that the prices of living, the prices in the housing market are really high. Renting a one-bedroom apartment ranges between $1,800 to $2,700 that we cannot afford. And also, in order to sign a new lease agreement with the landlord, he will require or request a proof of monthly income from $4,500 to $6,000. But we all are low-income tenants and barely make our living day by day and don't have that kind of income. With this being said, we all are asking you to reconsider our situation as emergency and help us from becoming homeless. We are requesting you to propose an emergency eviction moratorium immediately tonight and confirm it in the next week in order to resolve this issue in the humanitarian and meaningful way. This eviction notice obligates us, the tenants, to pay 3 times more rent than what we currently pay. Mr. Mayor and Councilman, we're asking you, if you have a house and your bank provides you with a notice that your mortgage will increase 3 times higher than what you currently pay, would you be able to save and stay in your homes? Please kindly understand that it is impossible for us to move out of our homes, and we have been living there for decades. We're all fighting to prevent homelessness and crime in our beautiful city of Glendale, but this kind of notices are pushing us out of our homes to become homeless. And we want to add to that our time is running short. We have only 50 days left to leave our homes. And in order to have our issues of eviction resolved in a timely manner, we are requesting the city to provide us with affordable housing homes that we will meet our budgets. Like no more than $800 or $900, we will be able to pay that rent. Or you can give us emergency Section 8 vouchers. Again, consider this as an emergency situation, because if this is not an emergency, then what is? And there is one more thing we want to bring to your attention regarding the building permits. Please look at the information on the permit dates and also the kind of remodeling they're going to do. The management applied for permit for remodeling on September 12, 2023, and was issued a permit on October 19, 2023. We are asking you, how is this possible to obtain many permits for substantial remodeling for the entire 15-unit building within such a short period of time, which is about 37 days or so, and this is kind of suspicious for us.
Your time is up, but let me ask you, are you speaking for, because I've got a number of cards. Are you speaking for?
Most of what I'm saying, but they also have things to say too.
Okay, then your time is up. If somebody wants to give up their time to you, then you can continue.
I have a question.
Yes?
Okay,
You want to speak?
give us your name, just one person, one name.
Somebody who submitted a card.
What's that?
Somebody who submitted a card.
Yeah, somebody who submitted a card.
Somebody over card on the way.
Please.
Okay, you want to
Figure that out. We'll figure that out. Let's just have her continue.
Okay.
Perhaps we just let the speaker.
Yeah,
Okay, how about,
we already have it. We got it.
okay, please continue.
Yeah, I'm going to continue if nobody wants to speak. And there's something that the tenants really, all of us, want to bring to your attention. Last week, you answered to our questions orally, and the following day, the next morning, a phone call. There were phone calls to few of the tenants, and not to all of them. I personally didn't get a phone call. And we were told that the landlord is right, and we have to leave our homes because he's doing everything by the law. Well, that was a great help from you, Mr. Mayor and Councilman. Now we're requesting and demanding you to tell us where or to whom we can apply to make our claim. And we want our questions to be answered in writing with your signatures and the City of Glendale seal on it. It will be the confirmation for our inquiries. Please take this matter seriously and inform us in writing and in a timely manner, because we have a very limited time. We're asking again and even demanding you to know who issued the permit in that short period of time, and based on that permit, they're telling us actually, to leave our homes. And please respond everything to us in writing, whatever you have to say. And last but not least, as you know, 63% of Glendale residents are tenants who voted for you. We have elected you as our city officials to protect our rights. Now it is time for you to help us overcome this hardship. And if you do nothing to help us, then be prepared to provide us with 15 or 20 tents, because we will be coming here and do our parade in the City Hall's backyard. We will be your neighbors and live by your side. And that way we will participate in the City of Glendale's Christmas tree lighting event and the New Year's celebration. After all, We're asking you again, please work with us to resolve this issue fairly and prevent us from becoming homeless. And we hope we will have a roof on top of our heads by the time it's Christmas and the New Year. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you, thank you. Councilmember Devine, you
I
had a
do,
question?
I do have a question, and this, I'm going back to the previous speaker and to you as well. Is there consideration for the degree of renovation that's going on? I mean, like she was saying that, one of the speakers was saying that, you know, their renovations are finished in 3 days, let's say, and they're asked to leave. Is there any kind of, I don't know, condition that says, how do you quantify substantial renovation?
Councilmember Devine, so what the municipal code says in terms of substantial renovation, it's a renovation that will take 30 days or longer to complete, and the value of those renovation improvements is 8 times the monthly rent, which, as you can tell from a building such as this, where the rents have been historically low, it is probably easier to meet that threshold than it might be on, for example, a newer building. So that's sort of the challenge that we're having to deal with, and I know it's actually something that I think is coming back to you for consideration at the November 28th meeting, because there is perhaps ways to tweak that and improve it for the future. But that is the problem that they're facing. And again, as Mr. Galani noted, community development is reviewing this to make sure it does qualify, does meet the standards, and also making sure that this work is actually going to be done as proposed.
Okay, because and you'll look you'll look into this other address as well to see if that's
Staff will
going on.
as soon as we get that information, staff will be looking into it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So our next speaker is Corrine Simonian. Who is this? Okay, why don't you come up and you'll give your name. It's probably just not in the order that I have, so. Just please state his name.
My name is Lilibet Morales, and I'm a friend of Hugh Thomas McDade. And because
Hugh, McDade,
yeah,
okay.
because he has his left eye is blind and he can't read well, so I have to read the statement on his behalf.
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay. My name is Hugh McDade. I'm 84 years old. I have resided in my apartment for 38 years. But I'm going to lose my home by December 19, 2023. It breaks my heart to move out of the only home I know. I don't have a family that would accommodate me. I can't afford to pay a high rent due to limited income. In fact, I don't even have a Section 8. I tried to apply in 2018, but they said that there's no opening and I can't apply for. I will experience hardship if I have to move to another apartment building. Glendale has a high cost of living. I'm getting older, and I want to stay in a place where I'm familiar with the area. My apartment is accessible to groceries, CVS pharmacy, the library, adult center, the post office, the laundromat, and most especially the Holy Family Catholic Church on Lomita Avenue. I have health conditions, deaf on both ears, left eye is blind, glaucoma, hypertension, monitored prostate, medicines that needs to be taken. I'm an Army veteran, and I'm afraid that losing my home, I'm gonna be homeless, and I don't want that to happen. There's a proposed power rate increase in Glendale, like 35% in the next 3 years. By December 1, there's a 14.8% possible rate increase and 11.3% on July 1 on 2024. and 11.3% on July 1, 2005. I live on a fixed income, and I don't have other resources. So I'm asking the city of Glendale to help me stay in my home, the only home that I've known for like 38 years. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We'll discuss this more, but let's hear from Robert Zograbian. And your name again?
Karine Simonian.
Oh, I skipped you. I'm sorry.
That's fine. As you know, we've been here last week, and it was nightmare from the last week till today for us, for everybody. And last week, when we were here, the next morning, early in 9:30, we received a call that the landlord has a right to evict us. Sorry. Okay. What about our rights? What about human rights? What about that we live 25 years and more in this building? This is our city, this is our community, our doctors are here, our church is here, and etc. Please, I'm not here to tell my sad story, tragic story of my life. I'm very private and pride person, but I forced last week tell you a little bit about my life, but I don't want to do it today. I am a survivor. I survived earthquake. I survived Artsakh 90s war, and I have even pictures to prove you. And I have a personal losses and tragedies, but I was a hard worker, always. From 1997, I came to USA. I was working 2-3 jobs. I even won Section 8, but I rejected Section 8 and I gave it to somebody else. I gave it to city because I was working. I was young and I thought maybe somebody more needed. I was low income, but I was working 2-3 jobs and I was happy. And because my place was a low rent, I say, okay, I don't need it. I can survive with my income and with this low rent. But now it's everything upside down. And of course, I pay my taxes. I do all of us are exemplary citizens. Believe me, you can check our backgrounds. You can check my background, Karine Simonian, and you can see when I enter this country, I have a clean record. I still paying my bills. I still paying the credit cards. I still doing like, I don't know what need the country need from me. I'm doing it, okay? Now, what I'm supposed to do? In our building, we have 15 units. You know, everybody knows, whole Glendale knows our story. 5 people have Section 8, okay. But the Section 8 people also need another help. There is like a small fee that landlord is paying us. It's nothing. First of all, they need financial help too for location. And the 5 units are low-income family, also need the emergency Section 8 voucher and financial aid. And 5 units, that includes me, I am on fixed income, and I also need emergency Section 8 and financial need. If the landlord is right, who is going to compensate me or everybody for this emotional distress? I'm coming like crazy. I'm losing it. I don't know what you want to do, me to do. Should I disappear? Or I'm not the David Copperfield. I can do a magic and disappear. Or maybe I will kill myself. I don't know. Give me advice. When you guys gave a lot of numbers, I tried during this week, and everybody, the lowest price for low affordable house is $1,600, and nobody will take an application from me because the low is $1,600, and my income is $1,100. Sorry, how will I survive? Show me the way, please. I will listen your advice, if it's possible. I don't know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Robert Zograbian.
Good evening, Mr. Councilman. My name is Robert Zograbian. I live at 332 West Lomita, apartment 11. I am 52 years old. When I come in the Glendale, California, I renting that building 1996. 1996. The building owner is management company. That years is the Glendale City 1 bedroom for rent is $475 to $550. I rented this building $550s. And after 1 year is coming the Jean Hayrabetian, he's by the buildings, and he's doing the repiping for the buildings, remodelings, big construction, major construction. He's changing the plumbing pipes, he's give the notes. Everybody, tenants is leaving 15 units in the unit. Nobody's not eviction. He's give us the note is every day is 9 o'clock, we cutting the water, we changing the pipe. Is okay? We are saying okay. I going to work, I coming home is open the water. My living room 3 wall is open, the changing the pipes. Everything is fine. It's the building outside, they don't painting. It's coming the inside is painting. They are doing there is damage my carpets. All buildings, everybody's. And we're doing the argument with the owner. 1 week we are waiting, nobody don't changing. And we are asking the Jean Hayrabetian, why you don't changing this carpet? He said, I am not full owner this building. This 50-50. This building owner is City of Glendale, California. Contractor like that. Why? I don't know. And coming the somebody's, the City of Glendale, California. Inspector or is working there. And we're doing the argument, why you don't changing this carpet? And physically, and we're talking with each other, his age is 65 years old that years. That years I'm 26 years old. And his next day is coming, say, apologize, sorry, I'm happy when this city living like this young person is thinking for families, members. He don't crime person, not doing the drug, anything. I'm happy. And we're talking with his, what's going on this building? He said this damage of buildings. That one is city's the owner. I don't know which years, what's the history. And I tell you need the proof? Say, yes, man. So why you give me that proof? He say, I'm 65 years old. I'm working the city Glendale Council 4 years or 8 years, maybe 10 years later I'm die. But you are young. You need to leave this city. You understand what's going in this city building, this history. And he's given the paper. Say, what? Why stay? Say, somebody say, history of the building, because the city council inspector coming, checking the building, he says, okay. people can live in this building. But city is the control for the rents. And he's give this paper. I say, maybe you lied. He say, if you live in smiling 30 years ago, 30,000 something years, the same policy, these buildings. Nobody can change it. This is true. And coming the Jean Hayrabets, and I give you 550 for rents. Every month, he's bring the paper, he's take the rents. I don't remember exactly how much the price. For city of Glendale, you need to pay for me 250 or 340. I don't remember exactly price. I said, what is that? He says, please sign and give us 500. Why? Why if I pay for you 500, why you show me this paper? If I pay for you 500, why you show me this $200 or $340? Because it's not over a city of Glendale. If you pay for your landlord more money, ask for us. And then we are doing the argument with the John Hayrapetian, the owner, my buildings. And he's talking with my brothers. He's the serious person. I don't know, say, why you lying for me? Don't show me this paper, I pay for 500. If you show me, I don't pay for 500. Anyway, couple years, 10 years or 15 years is the owner. It's done. It's each month, somebody's bring the building. I say, change this one. I say, I can't change it. And he's bring the illegal note. I need to talk the detail. You understand what I'm talking. The city of Glendale working many fraud cases. I'm witness. That one I need to talk. For section at everything. I'm witness. Thank you.
You understand?
There's a lot of follow-up questions I think we need to ask because I wasn't 100% clear on it.
I need to tell you detail to that. You understand what's going on over at Glendale City.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And every month when is John Hirap?
Hold on. Did somebody contact him? Was he one of the people that we've spoken to? 'Cause
Mayor Brotman, I'm not sure.
Mr. Zograbian,
We can find out
can we get
tomorrow.
Mr. Zograbian's contact info, please?
'cause I'm having a hard time understanding what the point is. Okay, we'll get your contact information and follow
I
up.
don't tell you detail all of that. What's going on here?
Okay.
For section at it, why don't doing the fraud for me?
We'll get your number so we can understand exactly what's going on. Okay, Ramela Iragi.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Well, we see here the grassroots movement here. So we're going to see a lot of them here in the future. Since we are facing all these renovations and it's really hard in this. We're encountering housing crisis here. I myself also in crisis, renting paying $1,800 for a one bedroom, and it's really hard for me to pay this rent. So as a matter of fact, there's another issue also I want to talk about. It was last week that also as RX said, I was also was criticized. It was not criticized, it was more harsh comment from council member Ardi Kasaryan and Ara Nigerian. And they told me I'm as Armenian said, is kopitem. Wow. You told me is kopitem. Shut kopitem. So actually, I'm harsh here just because I'm supporting these people are being evicted. And as I said before, every in the Grand Tannis Union we're encountering overwhelming of eviction people that have been evicted from their homes, and I was really upset. And Mr. Ara Nigerian, meantime, Ara Nigerian is bullying me that, oh, wow, you're practicing law without having a license. I mean, yeah, I mean, and yet I'm here supporting these people, and yeah, I'm being threatened by that I can go to jail because I'm practicing law without having a license. Yeah, well, that is not really it's not acceptable from this council. This kind of behavior and this kind of acts. Well, actually, I'm here. I'm here to support you. Everybody here. As I say, I'm with you. We are all same boat together. So basically, yeah. We actually we all Armenians and other pluralities make this city of Glendale. We contributed a lot culturally and financially, and yet at our old ages we are going to be evicted. Going where we don't know. Yeah, well. Now it's say, okay, thank you. You make the city of Glendale a safe haven for other affluent people, well-off people coming here to raise their kids, their families here because it's a safe haven that we created for these people. Well, now I say thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution and support of business, whatever. But now you have to leave Glendale.
Okay. The last card is Andrak Asturian. No. If you want to speak, you can put in a card. Just fill out a card. Okay? But the next one is Andrak Asturian. Is there an Andrak Asturian here? I can't. Asturian, Mr. Asturian.
Andranik Asadurian. Andranik Asadurian.
Andranik Asadurian.
I can speak English. I can Armenian. 2001 թվից ես երթագրված եմ section-ից։ Մի երկու անգամ եկել եմ, խոսացել եմ, ինձ ուղարկել են հայ կենտրոն։ Հայ կենտրոնը ուղարկում է այստեղ սիթին ուղարկում է հայ կենտրոն։ Ես 80 տարեկան մարդ, ոնց որ խաղալիք եմ, տանում բերում եմ, ինչի համար։ Բարձերը թանկացել են 2001 թվից էլա հերթագրված եմ section-ից, բազմիցս մարդիկ գիտեմ, որ ես ինքս ականատես եմ եղել, ինձանից ուշ են եկել Ամերիկա, բայց դարձյալ իրանք ստացել են section-ից։ Չեմ անում հիմի ինչն է պատճառը, որ 22 տարի հերթագրված եմ, ոչ մի պատասխան չկա։ Խնդրում եմ, եթե հնարավոր է, օգնեք։
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Շնորհակալ։
Thank you.
Do you have any more cards, Mayor?
No.
Okay.
No.
I do have a caller on the line. His name is.
Okay. Excuse me.
I do have one.
The council policy is that people can speak in whatever language they wish, and translation will be provided to council members after the fact, not in real time, unless a resident calls ahead of time and requests a translator. That can be provided to them, or they can come with their own translator, in which case they'll have, instead of 5 minutes, they'll have double that time if they require a translator to translate, and a translator of their choice.
Okay. We have, excuse me, Ramella, please. You know the protocols here.
Leanna, is it on them? Leanne.
Leanne?
Leanne, yes.
Okay, Leanne, why don't you speak, and then we'll have the caller.
Hi, my name is Diana. So I'm not very good at speech. I will not help my friend. Something I cannot tell you. I just have this is same problem. I'm from that building. Maybe my family is the youngest family in this building, but still I'm 47 years old. My husband is disabled, so he's older than me. We have same problem, and I'm just interested why Glendale Housing Department makes rules that makes people homeless. Then they try to make programs to help them. And the main question is here, I called many places, like housing rights, whatever they can give me information about rules that protect tenants. And they said the LA City or Pasadena City and maybe more cities, they have a rule that tenants can extend. They have a right to extend for a year, but not Glendale City. I am to ask why. And the next question, I'm just interested, the emergency vouchers for who? Who already became homeless? People who already is homeless, they don't, maybe they don't need anymore because it's stress, they are already sick people. So I think we need that program now before we become homeless. Please. Thank you.
Those are not, we don't make the rules on those. Those are made by HUD.
You are correct. You are correct.
What are the rules?
I'm not,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
right, I don't know exactly the details of the rules, but in conversations with a number of, that staff has had with a number of tenants, some of them, and I can't commit to a number, but more than half may be eligible for emergency housing
You
vouchers.
don't have to be homeless
Correct.
at the moment to be eligible. Think?
Correct, correct. It's, as I was reminded, on the verge of being homeless, but not necessarily have no place of residence.
Right. Councilmember
So,
Gasol.
yeah, so Mayor, first of all, I think that Mr. Zograbian was trying to recount interactions with the landlord who was claiming to have worked with the city of Glendale and was asking for some funds that were, I'll stick around after the council meeting to hear you out, but I just want to say that there was some implication of there may have been some fraudulent behavior or some illegal behavior on behalf of whoever was asking for extra money. I'd like to, we did get his information. I'd like us to look into the details of what he is describing, hopefully in a way that we can understand better and clearly as to what it was. The second is, I know that Mr. Calvert is not here, but I would like someone to, from both the housing and from community development, to explain to me how these proposed remodel changes, in lieu of what individuals are saying, that there were a number of repairs and issues done at this location previously without displacing individuals, why these ones warrant displacement. And so I need to better understand that, and I would like Mr. Calvert and whoever is the appropriate person from that department to walk me through what makes these different than other instances, or where the rights of the landlord begin, where the rights of the tenants begin. So I would like to hear that next week.
Yes, Councilmember Kasakian, we could definitely provide some more detail, but as I noted earlier, part of the documentation that we have required are because of this. These do not on the surface appear like substantial remodeling, so we have asked for additional documentation.
Okay.
So it is possible, but we don't know for sure, but it is possible that that 60-day notice period would have to restart. They would have to give new notices if we find that these documents are insufficient. Is that right? I know there's an if we find that they're insufficient,
Correct.
they would be required to renotice, and
There's a
that
caller.
60-day clock would start over.
Right. The only thing I do want to add, just caution, it's enforcement of the just cause ordinance is usually through private right of action or as a defense, so they would have to, the tenants through themselves or the representatives would have to raise that issue. All we do in that point is advise them of what the rules are.
We'll cross that bridge
Yeah.
when we get to it, but we'll find out. So just for everybody knows that our housing staff is looking at those permits, are looking to verify that those are, substantial, complete, and warrant the ability to issue the eviction notice. And if they're not, something will change. So that is something staff is working on. I mean, we are taking this very seriously. You know that the next day we reached out.
Yeah.
We contacted, I'm saying we, but it was staff, contacted the landlord, is trying to negotiate with the landlord. Unfortunately, the landlord seems to know the law and seems to do this kind of thing on a regular basis. So it puts us in a difficult situation because we can't break the law, right? We can change the law, and we do, in a few weeks, we have the rental rights question coming to us. And, excuse me, you know the rules here, Ramella. Please show that you understand the way we conduct business here. Okay, you come here every week. I think you should know by now. You don't shout out from the bleachers. Thank you. But, we can change. There's certain rules we can change, and that's what we will look at. None of those changes will be retroactive. They won't help any existing situation. So we have two things. One is we need to help these people in this particular situation, and we need to address our policies because it's clear that there's been a very sudden uptick in these rent evictions, and we need to deal with this. So we all understand that. It's not that easy. We're not all powerful. We can't break the law. There are property rights and there are laws and there are things we can do and things we can't do. So we are doing everything we can, and we are going to continue to work with you. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything, but that's...
I think there's a caller too, so.
Is there a caller? Okay. And we can't take questions from the audience. We don't do it that way. So, but we do have a caller, right?
Yes, Mayor, I have one caller. Emmanuel Gulakian. Emmanuel, you have 5 minutes. Go ahead. Emmanuel?
Hi. Good
Go
evening,
ahead.
Bratman, members of the council. Hearing some of the tenants here tonight, it sounds many of them are in a difficult situation, and that's unfortunate. And, hopefully some kind of resolution can be reached that fairly balances property rights and the rights of tenants at the same time. And so moving on to some other issues I was looking to discuss. So I've come to the city council in the past, it was in August, I believe, to discuss illegal vending on our sidewalks. And even though, I trust our police department to do a job to enforce the law, however, some of the laws we have in place are, making them work with one hand tied behind their backs. This whole law that's come out of Sacramento about we have to allow street vending, we can't ban it outright, and we are only limited to issuing fines on which we can't even impose criminal penalties for the failure to pay those fines. That's not working out at all. We have people from God knows where they came from, who they are, who hired them, who sent them. We got people coming to Glendale, setting up tents with cooking equipment, propane, fuel, all kinds of equipment right on our sidewalks, which makes access to emergency personnel difficult. It causes unpleasant smells. And on Glen Oaks, they have one set up right across Taco Bell, which is just astounding. And we have one on Chevy Chase and near Broadway. In that plaza, we have another one set up next to a Subway. So I took a look at what the city of Fontana has done, and so they figured out that they need to take stronger enforcement measures about this kind of situation. And they adopted a city ordinance making it a misdemeanor to interfere with the city official while he's doing his job. And in addition, city officials, including those from code enforcement, police, and fire, are now permitted in Fontana to impound these illegal vendors' equipment, food, and utensils whenever these vendors lack a license to sell, whenever they offer food for sale without a valid permit, and for failing to show ID as well. And so that looks like a step in a positive direction, and I hope the city of Glendale would adopt something like that. And I also thought I would discuss law and order in the city generally. I've noticed lately there are a lot of problems going on, especially in South Glendale. Just the other night, I went to CVS late night to get something I really needed, and I saw a robbery that was almost going to take place. You had these criminals try to access their locked liquor cabinet, and then when I was in the parking lot, I saw these people, run away, like quickly try to get in the cars and run off. And so I take a look at some of the council's policies and what's going on elsewhere in the county. There is this whole bail policy that was imposed by a judge, kind of out of his will, and it's faced a lot of pushback. Cities are suing, and some of those cities suing include Arcadia, Downey, Lancaster, Beverly Hills, even Santa Monica, but not Glendale. I mean, where is Glendale? Are we broke or something? Where the city of Downey and also Palmdale, they can sue to have a sensible bail policy in place, but Glendale can't. I mean, what's going on? It just it's quite astonishing to me. And so, while I heard earlier on some people talking about these restrictions on foam products, plastic products, I think we have bigger priorities in the city that we need to tackle. And thank you, and have a good night.
We're done.
Yes.
I just want to make one comment to Mr. Sinanian, Araik Sinanian. I just want to say that, you're asking for an apology. What I will tell you is this, that no other council member up here speaks for me. I don't speak for them. The views and opinions expressed are solely my own. If an employee of the city contacted you outside of their capacity or did anything to make you feel uncomfortable, or anyone here feel uncomfortable from coming up here to express your views, no matter whether I agree with them or not, I apologize for that, even though it was not my action. But I will tell you that this podium is an open forum for any resident, any stakeholder of the city to come and speak to us on any matter that they feel is in their interest and in interests of our community.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's decorum. I'm just expressing this comment to you since you asked. So
Excuse me.
I'm making a comment. My intention isn't necessarily to help you from up here. I will come down after the meeting is over and have a conversation with you for as long as you wish. I'll hear you out as to what your grievances are and what you want. But I'm telling you, my opinions, my comments are my own and only my own. And sometimes people agree with them, sometimes they don't. So I thank you for coming here and addressing the council, because not many people do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate every time someone comes up here, no matter what it is that they say, whether I agree with it or not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, what is next?
Adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
We are adjourned at 8:23 PM.